Ladies and friends, welcome to our debate today. This is Sharon Calizo, your today's host and mediator. We will be discussing a very important topic, whether the age for criminal responsibility should be lowered to 12 years old or not. This controversial topic was addressed by different experts, lawmakers, and students. They will talk about the importance of understanding young people's development and the need for rehabilitation instead of punishment. So, who will be our debaters for today? Let's all welcome our two students from Siquijor State College.
In favor of lowering criminal liability to 12 years old in the need for accountability and the protection of the youth and society. According to GU 2020, the reason for the lowering of the minimum age of criminal responsibility to 12 years old is to make the children who commit serious crimes receive appropriate judgment. It also addresses the issues of children aged 12 and 13 committing major crimes. Additionally, the aim is to balance protecting young people with ensuring justice in society.
I oppose this social issue. Lowering the criminal liability can have a long-lasting negative impacts. Juveniles are not yet fully matured either mentally or emotionally. A juvenile is a person who has not reached the age of majority, usually 18 years old. That's according to Republic Act 9344. Policies like Presidential Decree No. 603 emphasizes the need of nurturing the child with emotionally disturbed or socially maladjusted. Child shall be treated with sympathy and understanding.
There you go! You've heard the arguments of our debaters. Without further ado, let's begin. What are we going to discuss? Here it is.
Public opinion about these issues was clarified on January 29, 2019, when the Commission on Human Rights released findings from the Juvenile Justice Section of its 2018 National Baseline Survey on Human Rights. The debate over whether the age of criminal responsibility should be lowered to 12 years old is controversial. Many believe that children who commit crimes should receive help, not prison time, because they do not fully understand their actions. Additionally, children may be exploited by syndicates due to their innocence. Lawmakers emphasize that children who commit crimes should undergo intervention programs. These programs aim to guide and educate them about their wrongdoings, providing them with a chance for rehabilitation and preventing future offenses.
So, here we are with our two debaters for today. How are you guys feeling? Miss Daryl, how are you feeling for today?
I'm a little bit nervous. It's my first time to do debate, and especially this topic is too controversial. So, yeah.
That's a given. How about you, Miss Giselle?
I'm good. I'm too excited to start with this debate, to defend or stand about this controversial issue.
Yes, that's great. Now with this, let's start to hear the perspectives of our two debaters.
People usually misconceive the said bill. Other people say, mostly the media, that the child that would be caught will go directly to jail, which is completely wrong. The child would go under the process and not be treated as a prisoner. Additionally, not only the child that would undergo rehabilitation, but also the parents. One of the offenders here in the Philippines are the youthful offenders. These children commit and do crimes because they know that they could escape criminal liability. Children are becoming brazen even if they are aware that because of their age that they can have a lower punishment. I also believe in the rational choice theory. The rational choice theory states that the individuals use their self-interest to make choices that will provide them with the greatest benefit. With this, in my judgment, children have their own will of their own and have a right to choose what is right or wrong.
So according to Ms. Daryl, she said that people have a misconception in this bill. The bill does not intend to imprison children, but instead hold them accountable for their own actions. Now let's proceed to Ms. Vizel's perspective.
I don't agree with lowering the age of criminal liability to 12 years old because the crime statistic in the Philippines shows that the younger children are committing fewer crimes. According to the Philippine National Police, crimes by children aged 11 and under have significantly decreased over the past 3 years, with a 52% drop in 2018 alone compared to 2016. Most crimes are committed by older kids aged 12 to 17, and even these numbers are declining. Unlike these children, older individuals who commit crimes have a more mature mindset. We should focus on helping these young, innocent, and delicate children instead of holding them criminally responsible. Often, criminal syndicates exploit children's innocence, and implementing this bill could violate Republic Act 9262, which protects children from abuse, exploitation, and discrimination. Additionally, we need to consider if the rehabilitation centers in the Philippines are adequately prepared and child-friendly, as we are not assured of their current state.
So Ms. Vizal expresses that the said bill would not help lower the criminal rates here in the Philippines because most of the criminals here are adults. She also stated that we should focus more on helping them rather than putting them in prison. That's the end of the first part of our debate, and we will be back later for the second part of this show. Now, let's all take a short break. Back to our show. Now let's proceed to the second part of this debate. To know more deeply about this topic, I will be asking some questions and our debaters will defend their stance by answering them. So here's the first question.
Does lowering the age of criminal liability violate the Filipino core value?
For instance, a 12-year-old killed an 8-year-old child. How would the family feel? What would be the victim's family would feel knowing their child is killed? With this, I stand that lowering the age of criminal liability is not against the Filipino core values. Filipino society places high value on social order and safety, reflected in the principle of kapayapaan, or in English, peace. The increasing involvement of minors in criminal activities poses a significant threat to community safety and social stability. Lowering the age of criminal liability can be viewed as a necessary measure to address this growing concern, ensuring that even younger individuals are deterred from engaging in criminal behavior. Lowering the age of criminal liability need not to be seen as conflicting with Filipino core values, but rather as a means of reinforcing them in the context of contemporary challenges. It's only for you to say no to this will until you, yourself, or a loved one gets victimized by these juvenile delinquents.
Lowering the age of criminal liability to 12 years old goes against Filipino values. Our culture values family, kindness, and protecting the innocent. According to the Psychological Association of the Philippines, children are different from adults in how they make decisions, control impulses, and their overall maturity. By treating 12 years olds as criminals, we ignore their innocence and need for guidance. Instead of helping them, we risk putting them into a harsh system that doesn't fix the real problems. This is against the Filipino spirit of bayanihan, where we help and support each other, especially the vulnerable. Lowering the age of criminal liability not only fails to protect and nurture our children, but also contradicts our commitment to compassion and community support.
For the next question,
are the Philippine government or the social workers ready for the facilities of youth detention centers?
Ms. Daryl?
I believe that the social workers and facilities are ready if the bill passes. Once the bill passes, the country will adjust to it. With this, the government will give more budget to hire more social workers and to build more bahay pag-asa to accommodate children. Well, for one example for this is the K-12. People usually say that the country is not yet ready. There's not enough school rooms or not enough teachers. Yet, once it was signed into law, the country gave it time to adjust and it became successful if you look at it right now. With that, I believe that once the bill passes, we will give a time to adjust, and the government will align a budget for the facilities and necessities that are needed for every child that would come. Furthermore, in my judgment, if the bill is signed, the cases of children committing crimes will decrease. If this law would be implemented, it would help to prevent children from committing more crimes.
Rehabilitation helps kids who break the law to become part of society again. But many places in Philippines don't do this well. For example, the Yakap Bata Holding Center in Caloocan City is too crowded and dirty. This is a common problem in other youth homes too. There's a law, Republic Act 106/30, that says there should be a special places called Houses of Hope for kids to get better. But often these places don't work well. So according to a Rappler article, an interview with a mom and its son, so a mom talked about her 16-year-old son who is stuck in Yakap Bata. The son said it's bad there. They pretend everything's okay when visitors come. But then the kids don't have enough food and the place is dirty. He asked his mom to get him out, saying he'd rather be in city jail because at least he can move around there. These centers also lack enough trained staff and space. However, in places like Balpal-Asa and Valenzuela City, things are better when there's enough money and good management. But overall, there aren't enough resources, or people to help all the kids who need it.
Okay, debaters, let's sidetrack the question a little bit. So for the next question,
should the parents or the guardians of the children be the one in prison?
Ms. Daryl, please start.
In the last hearing of the bill, it says that parents should go to a mandatory intervention program. If they don't attend, they will be in prison for 30 days or to 6 months. But for me, children, despite their age, are individuals with their own capacity for making choices. Even if their decision-making processes are still developing, placing the blame on the parents undermines the principle by shifting responsibility away from the individual who committed the act. If the parents are the liable one, then they should be in the prison instead of the child. This bill helps the parents to educate the child more if the parents can't even help the child. If the parents are the one in the prison and not the children who commit the crime, then no one would help them to understand what is right or wrong, or what they did is wrong. And they will never be held accountable for what they've done. Punishing the parents for their children's action fails to consider these development factors. Instead, the focus should be on understanding the root causes of the child's behavior and addressing those issues directly. This approach is more likely to lead positive behavioral changes and reduce the likelihood of reoffending.
I strongly support the idea that parents should be held responsible for their child's actions. As outlined in Republic Act No. 106/30, this law is all about making sure parents are actively involved in guiding their children towards positive behavior. It recognizes that sometimes when kids get into trouble, it's not just their fault. There might be things going on at home or in the family that need fixing. So what does the law say? It says that if a child does something wrong, their parents have to step up. They're required to join a program that helps them understand how to be better parents and deal with any issues their child might be facing. So this program is like a support system, helping parents learn new skills and appreciate approaches to parenting. But here's the kicker. If parents refuse to join this program, they could face consequences, just like going to prison for a short period. It might sound harsh, but it's meant to show how serious the government is about making sure parents take responsibility for their children's actions. Now, why is all of this important? Because when parents are actively involved in their child's life and know how to provide guidance and support, it can make a big difference. It can help prevent kids from getting into trouble in the first place and create a safer, more positive environment for everyone in the community. So, by holding parents accountable and providing them with the support they need, we're not just punishing them, we're giving them a chance to make things better for their family and their community as a whole. And that's something worth fighting for.
It was an intense debate. Our two debaters are really fiery, each strongly defending their stance. Both arguments make sense, showing their deep understanding of the topic. It's clear that both put in a lot of effort to prepare, making it a memorable and thought-provoking event. So before we proceed to the last part of our debate, we will be asking the SSCians their opinion about this issue. So Ms. Fern, how's there?
Yes, Miss Shady, isang napakainit na debate sa pagitan ni Miss Giselle at ni Miss Irene patungkol sa topic na ito. Ngayon, nandito ako ngayon sa SSC upang tanungin ang ilan sa mga estudyante patungkol sa topic na lowering age of criminal liability. Tara! Hi guys! Tayo ngayon upang tanungin sila patungkol sa topic. And I have Miss Althea. Hi! How are you? How are you today? I'm feeling fine. Yes. So ngayon, tatanungin natin sila kung ano nga ba ang opinion mo sa lowering the age of criminal liability.
Me personally, I agree kasi nga, although they're young, but since nagawa nila yung ginawa nila, it means they have the knowledge na nalaman nila na mali yung ginagawa nila. So it's kind of like intentional. So not an excuse talaga na they're just young.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Althea. Sa napakagandang opinion ng ating participant. Ngayon, let's have Miss Maek to ask, what's your opinion about lowering age of criminal liability?
Okay, so for me, personally, I don't agree with lowering the criminal liability to 12 years old. Since a child with that age is not in a legal age and can stand on his own. And also, if that child is, if a child will be sent to the centers like DSWD, sometimes that facility is not child-friendly.
So ayun, narinig na natin ang iba't ibang opinion ng mga taga-SSC. Well, mabalik sa'yo, Miss Shady.
Thank you, Ms. Fern. We can see that our SSCians are aware about this controversial topic. With that, let's begin our final showdown. For the last part of our debate, our debaters will express their thoughts and opinions about their stance freely and without thinking of the time limit. With this, please start.
Okay, let's begin. Meron naman, ang mga bata talaga, boy, galing talaga yan sa mga mahihirap. Usually, ang mga bata na kukumit ng crime, galing sila sa kahirapan, sa broken families, with that, alam naman natin na nagkakaroon sila ng reason to do that crime. Dahil nasasaktan sila dahil alam nila, nakita nila mismo sa sarili nila na galing sila dun sa part na yun.
I understand where you're coming from, but the fact, let's imagine, 12 years old, you're still a child. Their thinking is not that matured enough, so they need guidance. Kinahanglan natos ng tabangan sa ilang mga wrong actions na nabuhat. So, instead of punishing them, why not just tagaan nato sila pagtagad nga kami nga binuhatan nimo is dili mao. Let's give them a chance. Bata sila, bata ara sa Japan. Unlike natong mga dagko nga, we have the right mindset na to do what's wrong and what's right.
Pero paano kung hindi sila makikinig? What if, even kahit ilang beses na natin silang pagsabihan, hindi talaga sila makikinig? What will we do? Kung iintay din natin sila maging older, edi lalo mabibigyan sila ng time na makapag-isip, na magkaroon ng criminal mindset.
I agree nga, that action is necessary, but again, we need to address this, the main problem that causes why these children nga nung ginabuhat nila, nga nung makaya nilang makabuhat, ano nga butang. Pero, I think, every one of us deserves a second chance. How about those children nga, inosente, walay muwang-muwang sa kalibutan, silang ikadak-an, sa ilang tapok na ikadak-an. So instead nga, ato silang i-preso, ibutang sa rehabilitation, which is not that, dili po gani mayo ang situation sa rehabilitation, just like sa usa ka interview, na ang bata, iyang ibeg ang iyang mama nga kwaon siya. So, unsaon man lang nato, if ato ibutang ang bata, then which is that that center is not a child-friendly. So, unsaon Japon pagkakaton sa batang if ang bulutangan niya is dili Japon mayo?
And for me, it's about breaking the cycle. It's about if we don't take a decisive action, siguro kung hindi tayo a-action ngayon, walang magkukondem sa mga bata, walang magtuturo sa mga bata, hindi sila matututo.
I agree, pero punishment is not the solution of this issue. We need to offer them hope and alternative that life is worth to live. So again, chance and helping those mga bata is so very important. So, again, inosente pa lang mga utok, hindi pa pareha na ito nga sakto ta panguna-una. So, need yun silang assistance ang mga bata. Instead of putting them on that center na dili po gani makatabang nila and not a child-friendly, with dili sakto ang mga resources, so, unsaon na lang.
What an exciting debate! Both Zariel and Vizel presented compelling arguments highlighting the complexities of this issue. It is clear that there's no easy solution, but by continuing conversations like this, we can work towards creating a more just and passionate society. Thank you both for your insights.
Thank you.